In life, you have two choices. You can build a lifestyle or you can live a bullshit life, but you can't do both. Welcome to the Freedom Lifestyle Experience, where we focus on building the lifestyle you want. And now here's your host, Michael Burns.
Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Lifestyle Experience. I'm your host, Mike Burns. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. I hope everyone's having a great week. It's Mother's Day today and slipped into the office to record this podcast and get it out to you guys. But I've been doing quite a bit of speaking lately on my lifestyle message, but real estate, a lot of people know me as a real estate guy and been doing some presentations on real estate, investing, flipping houses, and figured I'd shoot an episode specifically on flipping houses and, how we run our business with that. We're doing about 40 properties a year. I think right now we have 16 flips in different stages that are going, but we did our first deal in 2012. And it's been a process and a journey getting here. So I'm just going to dive into our business. And there's really four parts of flipping real estate. There's finding the deal, there's funding the deal, there's fixing the deal, and then selling it. So you kind of got those four different segments. So I'm going to talk about that. But to get started, if you're, especially in this market, super competitive market, and this probably applies to just business in general, but I think there's three things you need to be successful. Number one is hustle. Number two is relationships. And number three is core values. So on hustle, for example, it took my brother and I 94 offers and a year to get our first deal. I'll repeat that again, 94 offers in a year to get our first deal. And it was hustling. We didn't have a marketing budget. We didn't know shit about anything, like literally going to Home Depot. Okay, a toilet costs $90, a bathtub's, $200. And writing out what shit costs and just trying to figure out, how much things cost, and then trying to figure out what's hard money costs, what are closing costs, like how do you pull comps, how do you, factor the price per square foot on rehab, just all the different things that are involved. And it took a lot of time. It took a lot of hustle and showing up and getting out of our comfort zone and just making it happen. So without hustle, and again, this is life in general, like if you don't have hustle, just don't really expect much results because you haven't earned them. Relationships. So relationship currency is the most valuable asset you have. Like everything in your life and your business likely is going to come from someone outside of you. So everyone's heard the saying, your network is your net worth. And that really is true. Or, the 5 people that you spend the most time around, you're going to be the average of in whatever category it is of those 5 people that you're spending time around. But for me, I've built my business on relationships. The relationship always comes first. I've done multiple deals where I potentially was going to lose money just to save the relationship or my name and my word because I said I was going to do something. But relationships are that's the key component of everything that you're going to do. We're talking about flipping houses. So for example, relationships with agents, with title people, with wholesalers, with your investors, with contractors, with attorneys, with other investors. Relationships are going to be the cornerstone of what you're doing. And then lastly is core values. If you're out there, you have deals, you got investors, things are going well, but you don't have any core values, you're building on a shitty foundation. And if you don't have core values and integrity and morals that you're operating not only your business on, but your life on, you're just not going to get very far. So for example, core values, because they're so important to me, I'm going to run through ours real quick, but lead by example, integrity, family and freedom, experts at our craft, self-development, transparent, yes attitude, and loyalty. So these are the core values that make up both my life and my business. And I can for sure tell you that when everyone talks about core values, but when you really commit to them, and, Andy Frisella, when I first joined Arete, that was one of the first things he talked about. And I thought it was really eye-opening to me when I saw these guys hire, they fire, they promote, they reward. Everything is based on the core values. And that just really is how you instill a culture into your business, or just a culture that you operate yourself. If you're an individual owner operator and it's just you don't have a team and all that stuff, like setting the culture and the core values with yourself, that's kind of the step to that and how you're going to establish, just the way that you operate and what your standards are. Cool. So jumping into the nuts and bolts, like I was saying earlier, there's really 4 parts to flipping. You got number 1, finding the deal. Number 2, funding the deal. Number 3, rehabbing it. And then 4, selling it. So you make your money when you buy, and then you keep your money when you execute. I'll say that again. You make your money on a real estate deal when you buy. So ideally you want to have a good buy, get a good deal, but then that's only step one. Then you're actually going to keep your money when you execute on the deal. And what I mean by executing is hitting your rehab, making sure you're on a good timeline, you're staying in budget, you perform it in a timely fashion, the quality is good. That's really when you're going to execute and keep the money that you make on that deal. So finding deals, and this is literally what I do. I'm just sharing you everything that we do in our flipping business. Again, we do about 40 properties a year. But how we're finding deals, my number one deal source is through networking. So I'm going to all the networking events. I'm going to Slaria. I'm doing social media. Like if there's an event about real estate or real estate investing going on, I want to be there because, again, like I talk about all the time, like you want to go plug into the room and the atmosphere and the environment where what you're doing is happening. So if you're looking for deals, you should probably be in a room where real estate deals are happening. So networking is my number one source of deal flow. Number two is real estate agents. So we've got agents that bring us stuff that's off market. We've got agents that have pocket listings that bring it to us. And then I've got agents that are just, they see a deal on the MLS that could be a good deal and they bring it to me, and I'll let them represent me as the buyer's agent. So it's a great deal for them because they're making a commission. They got a cash buyer, and it's awesome for me because I have more sets of eyes out there looking for deals, not just me and my team. The MLS. So we bought a property off the MLS last week. So literally the MLS is a multiple listing service. That's where all the homes are listed for sale by realtors. So we'll write offers for properties that are on the MLS, and we get deals fairly often from that. Wholesalers. So for those of you guys who aren't super, involved in real estate yet, a wholesale deal is essentially where I'm going to buy Joe's house from Joe for $200,000. So I have a sale agreement with Joe to buy his house for $200,000. And then I take that contract and I assign it, or I wholesale it to Tom. And I'm going to say, hey, Tom, I got this house on 123 Main Street. The ARV is 400,000. There's probably 60,000 in rehab. I'll sell you this house for 220,000. So even though I'm buying it from Joe for 200, I'm going to sell it to Tom for 220,000. And I'm actually not even going to close on it. I'm just going to assign the contract and make a quick 20 grand in the middle. So that's what wholesale is. So we buy a fair amount of deals from wholesalers. And what's cool about that is they're spending the time and effort, the marketing, the boots on the ground. They're going out and finding these deals, and then they're just marking it up and passing it along to someone like me who actually wants to go through the process of closing on it with cash, rehabbing it, and going through the whole flipping process. So wholesale is a great avenue to get deals. Boots on the ground hustling. So what does that mean? Like if I'm out and about, like it's Sunday today, I'm driving wherever I'm going and I see there's like a for sale by owner open house. I'm literally going to pull over and go talk to them and see if I can buy their house cash from them. And I've done a lot of deals like that. Or what you call driving for dollars. So when my brother and I first started getting going, our first 3 wholesale deals, we made 20,000 on 2 of them and 10,000 on the third one. So we made a total of 50 grand on 3 deals. And what we did is we were literally driving for dollars. So we were driving around neighborhoods, and any house that looked like shit or that looked vacant or abandoned or distressed or run down or whatever, we had this, I don't know, it was probably an 8x5 sticky pad that was real, and we had real bright colors. So like bright pink, bright orange, I think a green and a yellow. And we would literally just write on there, hey, I'd like to buy this home. We'll pay cash. Call me if you're interested. Something super basic like that. Wrote that down and then stuck it on the front door. And we did that. We placed hundreds upon hundreds of these, but we did 3 deals that made us 50 grand. It cost us zero money other than the cost of gas and the cost to buy these pads. And then other than that, just our time. So on these deals, we had left these notes and people would call, and then, obviously they were interested in selling the home. There wasn't a whole lot of hard selling there going on. They got our simple note on their door. Their house looked like shit. It was distressed, run down, whatever. They were interested in selling. They liked the idea of a cash offer. So we put a deal together, and then boom, got it under contract. And then we assigned it, like wholesaled it, like I was just talking about in the previous example. So boots on the ground hustling. Another thing we used to do when we were first getting going is we would go to estate sales every Saturday. So, we'd look up on the local Craigslist or KSL, all the estate sales that were going to be going on. And then we go hit each house and say, hey, what's the plan with the home? We'd be interested in selling it. And then we got to know some of these estate sale companies who were consistently doing all the estate sales. So we would show up and they would recognize us, and we started getting leads there as well. Other boots on the ground hustling, calling for sell by owners, calling for rent by owners, calling agents, all sorts of just hustling, getting out there, picking up the phone, knocking on doors, talking to people. And then avenue number 6 is marketing. So we've done direct mail, we've done cold calling, texting. The marketing piece is something I haven't got super dialed in. That's why I like buying from wholesalers, because they've spent the time and effort and all the marketing dollars to get the systems dialed in and bring the deals in. So those are where we find our deals. Again, networking, agents, the MLS, wholesalers, boots on the ground hustling, and marketing. So another thing is when you're out looking at deals and stuff, that's awesome. But if you don't know what an actual deal is, then that's a problem. So you really need to understand how to analyze a deal. So if you got a pen and paper, take it out, or if not, pause it and get a pen and paper, because I'm going to give you guys my formula right now of how I run my numbers to find out, where we need to be at on a flip. So this is my formula. There's a lot of different ways out there to run your numbers. I like to run my numbers this way because I think it's about as hard costs as you can get without it being generalized estimates and percentages. So I'm always going to start with the ARV, which is after repair value, ARV, and then we're going to work backwards. So my formula is I take the ARV, and then I'm going to take 8% straight off the top, and that's going to be for closing costs. What falls under closing costs is going to be the real estate commissions for the buyer's agent when we sell the house. So I'm a licensed broker, so I don't have to pay anything to list the property. But pretty much every time you sell a property, there's going to be a real estate agent that brings the buyer. So you're going to need to pay them a commission. That's 2.5% to 3%. And then I'm going to have closing costs when I buy the home, which is 1% to 2%. I'm going to have closing costs when I sell the home, which is roughly 1%. So year 3, you're probably right around 5% there. And then my insurance costs are going to be factored into that. And then right now the market's a little different, and it's a seller's market. So you're not having to pay buyers closing costs. So right now when I'm underwriting a deal, I'm actually taking only 6% off the top. But traditionally I would run it taking 8% off the top, because I would plan on having to pay buyers closing costs or giving a concession or a credit towards the buyer's closing costs. We don't have to do that right now because the market's super hot. But typically, I'm always going to bake that in there too. So for me, because I'm a licensed agent, only 8% off the top. If you don't have a real estate license, I would recommend taking 10% straight off the top, and that's going to cover all your stuff and give you a percent or two of buffer in there. So we're going to go ARV minus 8% for closing costs, minus my rehab costs, minus hard money costs for 6 months. I'm always going to run 6 months. If it's a larger project, I'll project for longer than that. But hard money is one of those things in a real estate deal that will eat you alive. Like, it will literally eat you alive if you are in the deal for longer than 6 months, 8 months tops, because usually hard money, you're paying anywhere from 10 to 14, 15% interest, but then you're going to have anywhere from 1 to 3 points or origination fee as well. So for those of you guys who don't know what a point is 1% of the loan amount. So in Utah, the going rate for hard money is 2 points and 12%. So for example, if you're borrowing $100,000, 2 points is going to be $2,000. And then 12% interest is basically 1% per month. So on this $100,000 example, if I'm factoring money costs for 6 months, that's basically going to be $8,000, because I'm going to have $1,000 a month for interest for 6 months. So that's $6,000 plus the 2 points, which is another $2,000. So 6 and 2 is $8,000. So in this deal example I'm giving you, I would take out $8,000 for the cost of hard money. So when you go ARV minus 8% for your closing costs and commissions, minus your rehab costs, minus your hard money costs, that's going to give you your break-even number. So that's where the deal is going to break even, assuming everything goes right the way that you have it underwritten on paper. And then for me, I really want to see a minimum of 10% of the ARV for profit. So for example, if we're flipping a $400,000 house, I want to have a $40,000 spread in it. If we're flipping a $700,000 house, I want to have a $70,000 spread in it. So that's how I run my numbers. So ARV minus closing costs, minus rehab, minus hard money costs, minus 10% of the ARV, that's where I need to purchase that home at. So when you're rolling into like, what does shit cost for rehab? If you guys are, my numbers are here specific to Utah and my crews and what we do. We don't use a lot of general contractors. I kind of act as a general contractor on most of our stuff. So we're managing our projects. And then typically we'll have a crew that can handle 70 to 80% of the project. And then if we need specific things like major electrical, major plumbing, a roof, HVAC, windows, cabinets, counters, we'll sub that out. But outside of that, we like our contractors to be able to do the majority of everything. So these are my costs on rehab. So for a cosmetic rehab, that's going to be pretty much everything other than structural. So flooring, base, case, doors, all new fixtures, flooring, kitchens, bathrooms, appliances. We're going to be $30 to $35 per square foot for a cosmetic rehab. And then anything major I will add on top of that. So for example, a roof. If we have to do a roof recover, that's like $5 to $7,000. If we need to tear it off and put a whole new roof on there, that's probably 10 G's. If we need a new furnace and AC, that's probably an additional $6,000. If we got to do major electrical, that's probably additional $5,000, or major plumbing is probably an additional $5,000. So that's the numbers that I use for our rehab cost formula. So again, cosmetic rehab, $30 to $35 a foot. A roof, $5,000 to $7,000 to recover, 10 for a tear off, 6 for a furnace and AC, 5 for major electrical, and 5 for major plumbing. So I'm giving all to you guys. These are my numbers that I use. And again, this is what we're doing here in Utah. How do you fund deals? So this is the biggest thing that people get caught up on, is like, how am I going to get the money? And when I was first starting, everyone wanted to say this, and when you're newer, or even not when you're newer, even now when I'm looking at bigger commercial deals, I get caught up in the money as the numbers start to get bigger and bigger. But the reality is if you have a good deal, everything else will fall in around a good deal. So getting money for a good deal is like, it's harder to get the contractors and all the other shit. Like the money is the easy part, as long as it's a good deal. So the money sources that I use, there's hard money, and then you also have private money. The difference between hard money and private money is hard money is going to be more expensive. Usually hard money, you're dealing with a hard money lender, and that's literally what they do, is they lend hard money on real estate deals. So you're going to have some origination fees. So you're probably going to have 2 to 3 points, and then you're probably going to be paying, 10 to 12% interest. And a hard money lender is going to be a little more conservative. So they're probably only going to want to lend you 80 to 90% of the purchase price. So you're going to have some money down, and then they're probably not going to lend you the rehab money. So you're going to need to come up with the money for the rehab yourself. Private money, which is where you want to be at. Private money is like the retired guy, or, your rich uncle, or the doctor, the dentist, the business owner. These are guys that are people that have money. They want to be in real estate, but they don't really want to be doing like finding the deals and fucking around with contractors and all of that stuff. So they just want to lend their money into real estate deals with an operator like myself. And the benefit of private money is it's just private investors. So you're going to get it cheaper. Like I pay 10% on most of my private money, no points. And then also they'll fully fund the deal. So they'll fund all of the purchase price, and then I can get the rehab money as well if I want to. I mean, every deal can be structured. It just depends on the investor's criteria. But private money is very much relationship driven. So, for example, with my investors, I send them a text message like, hey, I need, $575,000 on Friday, and it could be Wednesday. And they just say, okay, cool. If they got the money, obviously the paperwork and all of that gets done, but it's relationship driven, and the money is cheaper and much better terms. So private money is where you want to be at. Other ways that you can fund your deals is a money partner. So let's say you're out hustling, you're finding deals, you're doing all the operational piece, but you don't have money. You could partner up with someone who does have money, whether it's for a flip, or you'll see this a lot of times too, where, people partner on rental properties, and you have a money partner or a credit partner. So you've got someone that's got a good job, and essentially they qualify for a loan. So they will be the money partner, and they'll be the one that gets the loan in their name. And then the other person brings the deal and does the operating, or however you want to structure that. But having a money partner, that's a great way to scale your business or get into deals, because they're bringing the ability to get financing, but maybe they don't know much about real estate, or they just don't have the desire to go out to find deals and do all that stuff. So that could be a great partnership. Traditional mortgage, another great way to fund deals. Lots of people are doing house hacking. buying a house, fixing it up while they live there, and then selling it and taking the profits. Another cool thing about that is you avoid the taxes on capital gains as long as you live there for 2 years. So a traditional mortgage, or if you're buying rental properties, there's lots of great traditional mortgage products out there. And what's awesome about traditional mortgages, there's way more hoops to jump through and you have to go through the underwriting process. However, you're going to get the best terms, the lowest interest rates. And there's a lot of aggressive money out there right now too. So instead of traditionally have to put down like 20, 25%, we're seeing options where you can buy an investment property with 10 and 15% down. Home equity line of credit. This is one of my favorite tools that I utilize. So if you own your own personal home, or even if you have rental properties and you have equity in these different properties, you can go get a home equity line of credit against the equity in the property. So basically it just acts as a line of credit with your interest or with your equity that you have. And what I love about HELOCs is the money is available there when you want it, but you only take it when you need it. So you have access to it just like a line of credit. So you don't have to pay interest on it when you're not using it. However, when you need it, you can have access to it and you can use it however you want. You can get it, in the form of cash or just wire it to another account, whatever it is. The other thing about HELOCs is the interest rates are much lower. So the interest rates on my HELOCs are like 5.25% right now, maybe 5.5%. The downside of HELOCs is they are adjustable. So the rate's going to fluctuate with the market. But HELOCs are an awesome way to fund your deals. Another thing that we use a lot of is lines of credit, both personal lines of credit and business lines of credit. And the cool thing with lines of credit and just credit cards in general is when you get a line of credit, it's going to start out smaller. So my first line of credit was I think they started me at $5,000, and then I used it and then I'd pay it off, and then I'd use it and I'd pay it off. And then they gave me an increase to 10, and I just keep doing that. So lines of credit are awesome. And another big thing to understand the difference is a line of credit versus a credit card. A line of credit, you can go in and just pull the money. So you can get it in the form of cash versus credit cards, you have to swipe it as a purchase. So lines of credit and home equity lines of credit give you a lot more flexibility because you're getting cash money. So anyways, lines of credit are awesome. I've got lines of credit at local credit unions and then US Bank. Also, Key Bank is really good for business lines of credit. Another way that we fund our deals is store credit. I love, love, love the Home Depot credit card for a couple of reasons. One, same thing, if you use it, pay it, and they see that you're using the card and paying it off, they will be really aggressive with giving you increases. I think I've got like 50 or 60 grand with Home Depot on one card alone. But also what's cool about Home Depot is if you spend $300 or more, you get 0% interest for like 12 months or 6 months. So you can work on their money for free. So as you're trying to fund your deals and you're trying to keep your interest costs down and just access to more capital to get deals going, and then, doing from 1 flip to 2 flips to 3 flips to 5 flips at a time, access to credit and money is a big part of that. So store credit, whether it's Home Depot, Lowe's, Lumber Liquidators, Floor and Decor, all of those stores have store credit cards. So go check it out and use them, because not only can you get terms with them, but also you can get that 0% interest. And then lastly, credit cards. Credit cards have literally how I built my business getting going. Another quick trick too with credit cards is a lot of the credit card companies will offer what are called convenience checks. So again, credit cards are kind of limited because you can only swipe them, and a lot of contractors aren't going to let you pay with a credit card, so you're just limited to like the materials and shit that you can purchase on a credit card. But with credit cards, if you call them up and ask them if they offer convenience checks. I used to get these in the mail and I still do. US Bank is who I use primarily. But I had a credit card, and one day I got in the mail this convenience check, and I'm reading it, and it's 0% interest for 12 months. Just pay a transaction fee of 3%. So it's like, okay, cool. I can max this credit card at 20 grand out. I'm going to pay a 3% convenience fee. So whatever that is, $300 on $10,000. But now I can use that 10 grand for a year, and all it's going to cost me is $3,000 or 3%. That's awesome. So really learning how to leverage credit is how you're going to fund your deals, that with, primarily for the rehab side of things. And then you need to get hard money or private money or money partners to figure out how you're going to cover the purchase price, since it's a much larger dollar amount. And then there's the magic sauce called seller financing. Seller financing is God's gift to real estate investors. So seller finance is essentially where the seller acts as the bank. So you don't have to get any sort of financing, and you can structure these deals literally however you want to. I know guys that have structured deals where, an old truck was part of the deal and X amount of car washes and all sorts of different shit. Like you can literally structure it however you want. There's no rules to it. But essentially the seller is going to act as the bank. So you're going to give the seller a down payment, whatever that looks like. And then you're going to set up the payment plan or what you pay them per month. You're going to take title to the property. So you own the home, you bought it, but the seller is acting as a bank. That's seller finance. And seller finance is a really, really important tool to have. I'm not going to go over it in today's podcast, maybe another one, but you really need to learn how to do that, especially if you're real estate investing. Like seller finance, I've done dozens and upon dozens of deals that wouldn't have happened unless we did seller finance it, and it can be a really good fit and create win-win situations for everyone involved. So seller finance, you guys need to learn about that. So into the rehab, like I said, this is where you're going to keep your money on the execution. First and foremost, you need to establish what your budget is. And then you also need to get a plan together and a timeline. And lastly is your contractor piece, because your contractors are going to make you or break you. You could have the best deal in the world, but if you got shitty contractors, they'll blow that deal. I've had deals and I went into it thinking we were going to make 80 grand to 100 grand. I specifically remember telling Kia, like, oh, there's no way we lose money on this deal. And it was in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, the deal that there was no way we wouldn't not make money. We ended up losing like $42,000 on it. And it was because of the contractor. So rehab budget, timeline, quality expectations, and a contractor to execute on it. So how do I find my contractors is probably one of the biggest questions that I get. And again, everything I do is relationship based. So the contractors that we do have, I treat them really well. I make sure they have consistent work. When they ask for a check, they get a check. As long as the work's been done, we tell them that we appreciate them, and everything is relationship driven. And I'm always painting that picture to contractors as well. It's like, hey, especially new contractors, it's like, I don't care about one property. Like, I'm looking to build a relationship with you. And I'll point out the majority of my guys have been with me for a long time. Like, I've had the same roofer for 9 years. I've had the same HVAC guy for 8 years. I've had the same window guy for 6 years, the same cabinet guy for like 3 years now. So a lot of the people that work with us, it's consistent. So I'm always talking about the relationship with contractors and painting the picture of this is a long-term deal for us, because it's good for them too. It's like, hey, you're going to have consistent work. You're going to get paid when you want to or when you need money. Like, we're going to refer you, not only our business, but because we're in real estate, we're in mortgage. A lot of investors know me. I refer a ton of business as well. So I'm letting them know these are all the benefits on our end. But hey, in exchange for consistent work and getting paid and referrals and all that, we also need a good deal. I expect you to make money, because if you don't make money, it's not a good relationship, if everyone's not winning. But at the end of the day, like, we're not homeowners. Like, I need investor pricing. I need consistent, bulk pricing, because that's what we need on our end. And that's kind of what we're going to expect from them in terms of this relationship that we're building. So it's like, we need good quality work. We need it done in a timely fashion, and the price has to work. But back to where we find contractors, it's really hard in the flipping business, especially in a competitive market like we have here in Utah. You have to make the numbers work. So calling up the big name general contractors, in the area, it's likely that that's not going to work, because general contractors are basically, they have subcontractors. So they're marking up the labor costs on the subcontractors. And a lot of times they're marking up the cost on materials too. So where we make our money and how deals are able to work is we don't have the markup on the subs, and we also don't have the markup on the materials. And that's our margin in the middle, or a part of it anyways. So when I'm looking for new contractors, I'm going to start with my network and my relationships, and I'm going to ask for referrals. Other things we do is when we're at Home Depot or when we are at some of these other places buying materials, we'll ask, when we see people, like, we'll just ask for information, or we'll just introduce ourselves and see if people are looking for work. I also like to ask my contractors that we currently work with, because all contractors know other contractors. So we ask our current guys, like, hey, do you know a window guy, or do you know an electrician, or do you know anyone that's looking for work? We're looking to bring on some new crews. Another thing we do is here in Utah, we have KSL. Other places you have Craigslist, but I'll get on there and I'll search on there. What I like about that is you can see the reviews and kind of search for specific things. So we'll do that as well. I'll also go into Facebook groups and post, who I am and what we're looking for. And then another thing that I'm always doing as well, when I'm out driving around, whether it's in a neighborhood or on the freeway or whatever, I'm always paying attention to the cars that are around me. And I'm not looking for like, Black Diamond plumbing and heating, really nice Mercedes fucking work van and stuff. I'm looking for older pickup trucks and older vans that have, kind of a rough looking ghetto, Joe's Handyman Services and a phone number on the side of his, 1995 F-250 truck. I'm looking for guys like that because those are owner operators and those are the guys that I want to deal with because the price point's going to work. They're not a big company with a big overhead. So, they're not going to have, it's just probably going to be better pricing. And you can build a relationship with people like that a lot better too. Loyalty is one of our core values. And I want my guys to be loyal. In exchange, we're also loyal as well. But that's where we're finding our contractors at. And then suppliers too. Like, for example, the guy that we buy our flooring from, I'll ask him like, hey, do you know if you met any new contractors recently that's buying shit from you that might be a good fit for us and what we're doing? But again, this common theme that you'll always hear me talking about, whether it's our investing business or whatever it is the relationship piece. The other thing with contractors that's super important is setting the expectation. So what I'll do when we're meeting a new contractor is I'll have a call with them and tell them who we are, what we're doing, kind of what we're looking for, get to know them a little bit. And then if that call is promising, then I'll go on to the next phase, which is I'm going to say, hey, I want to see some of your work. So can I come walk one of your projects? And if they don't want to let you walk one of their projects, that's a little concerning. If they don't have anything to show you, that's also super concerning. Guys should have something, even if it's a little bathroom fucking tile remodel job or whatever it is. But I want to go see in person their work, walk it with them, touch it, see it, feel it, so I can see the quality and everything. So I'm going to do that. And then if I like what I see there, then I'm going to say, hey, that's great that I've seen what you're doing. I'd like to show you what we do. So I'll go take them to one of our homes that's finished or close to finished and listed on the market. And I'll show them one of our properties and say, hey, here's what we do. This is the quality that we expect. So now I'm looking at their stuff first. And then secondly, I'm going and showing them what I expect based on the quality of one of our homes that's currently done. If you don't have a home that's currently done, go show them a property, whether it's something that's listed or your friend or whatever, go show them, what you're expecting. So you want to see what they got, and then you want to show them what you got or what you're expecting. So you're setting your expectation there. And then thirdly, I'll go take them to a property and I'll have them actually give me a bid. And again, up front, I'm going to tell them I'm not a homeowner, I'm an investor, and I truly try to minimize my time being wasted with guys that are going to send me a bullshit bid. It still happens, but you try to have these conversations and set expectations up front to minimize your time being wasted and really just get on the same page with someone. And then the last thing is a pay schedule. So no matter what, under any circumstance ever, am I giving 50% down? Also, some of our contractors, we're buying materials, so we're paying labor only. Some of our contractors, it's an all-in price, and their price includes labor and materials. So depending on what that situation looks like, that's going to determine on how much money they want down. But even if I got a guy, so if there's someone that we're paying labor only, we'll tell them, hey, like maybe I'll give them $1,000 to get started, but I'll tell them, I need you to show up and I need to see that you're here working. And then I'll pay you every 2 days if you want to, once a week, whatever. But until we have a relationship going and I'm comfortable with you, I'm just not going to give you 20% down, 25% down, 50% down, whatever it is. And if I've done a good job at that point, painting the picture of the relationship, telling them I don't care about this one house, and I've gone through my whole process and I've done a good job judging their character, it's probably pretty likely that they're going to be okay with, all right, this guy wants me to prove myself a little bit. He's not going to give me a fat down payment. And if they're not willing to, if they do want a big down payment and they're not willing to move off of that, then I'm not going to work with them, period, because I'm not going to set myself up to get burned. So that's how we handle the pay schedule. If it's someone that they're giving me an all-in price with materials and labor, they're always going to say, hey, well, I need some money to buy the materials to get started. So I will take that into consideration and maybe give them $5,000 down on a larger project. But same thing, you just have to be open and honest and communicate. But the pay schedule is super important because if you give someone too much money up front, you're not in control anymore. And you're just at the mercy of hoping they do the right thing or they show up. So that's how we bring on new contractors and manage contractors. Cool. So now you've gone through getting your rehab done and everything, and it's time to sell the property. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to repull your comps, and pricing your property is really, really important. So obviously you want to price it towards the top of the market, get the most that you can, especially in a seller's market like this where the buying frenzy is happening. People are overpaying for stuff. You definitely don't want to leave money on the table. But on the flip side of that, if you don't price your property correctly and you price yourself out of the market, what's going to happen is you're going to stay listed on the market, and then your days on market are going to accumulate. Eventually, you're going to have to do a price reduction. So now when you're in the marketplace and buyers are looking at your property and you've been listed on the market for, for example, I got a deal right now that we've been on the market for 23 days, and I listed it at 440, which was a little high, and I knew it was a little high. Sorry guys, I had a large motorcycle going by. But anyways, we've had to drop the price like $5,000. And now I'm 23 days on market and the price has been lowered 5,000. I'm at 435. And we get questions from agents like, hey, what's going on? How come it hasn't sold? Or why did it fall out of contract? Or, is there anything wrong with the house? That's weird that, in this market, you've been listed for sale for so long and you've had a price reduction. So getting your price right is super important. So I'd rather price a little bit more towards the top of the market, but a little more conservative to where we're going to have a lot of activity and a bidding war versus just shooting for the stars and then having to come down, because you just lose your leverage in the marketplace, in my opinion. So anyways, you want to repull your comps, have a good pricing strategy. The other thing is you want to make sure that the property looks good. So we always use professional photography, no matter what. That's a non-negotiable. That photos are edited, the lighting looks good. Real estate photographers use what's called a wide angle lens, so it shows the full width and depth of the room and just makes the photos look better. Staging is another thing that we do quite a bit of, maybe not on entry level homes, but we like to stage our properties just because when you walk into a house and it's empty, people don't have vision. Like, people's lack of vision is mind blowing. So anyways, we like to stage your property, especially if you have a home that has a unique layout, or it just helps people when they can walk in and you almost set it up for them and they can visualize the flow of the home and how each room and space could be best used. So we like staging for that reason. And then lastly, you need an experienced agent. Like, don't go for sell by owner. Don't hire the guy that's $1,000 or $1,500 flat fee. Like, you get what you pay for. You've spent all this time. Again, you make your money when you buy, but you keep your money when you execute. And part of executing is using a good realtor if you're not one yourself. So we just bought a property not long ago, and the listing agent that was involved, it was an off-market deal, but the listing agent that was involved was at a discount brokerage, had no idea what they were doing, and they sold this property to us for like $150,000 below market value. And that's simply because the sellers thought they were saving money, but really they left a legitimate six figures on the table because they didn't have an experienced agent. So that's really important to have. So that's kind of a 10,000 foot overview, start to finish, on our flipping business or just flipping homes in general. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about that we avoid. Most of these I've learned through losing money on deals or just doing deals that I shouldn't have done. But busy roads, I always avoid a busy road. When I say busy road, I'm talking double yellow lines. If there's two lanes on each side, busy roads, they affect your value, but also more than anything, they affect the desirability. Half of the people who are looking at your home, they're going to be disinterested because they're not interested in a busy road. Bad neighbors is another thing you want to avoid. The second flip that my brother Tyler and I ever did, we lost $50,000 on it, and for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons was the neighbors. It was on a cul-de-sac, and the neighbors across the way, like, the house just looked like shit. They'd be drinking beer and wearing wife beaters, playing basketball on a Sunday morning in the cul-de-sac, and it just wasn't a good look for a higher end home. So you always want to pay attention to the neighbors, because that's what people notice, and it's the first thing people notice when they pull up to a home, and then the idea of living there next to shitty neighbors or just next to a house that looks real rough. The yard's run down, the home looks condemned. People just don't like that, so we try to avoid that. Another thing is bad layouts. We can move walls, we can do a lot of different things, but sometimes you just have a layout that sucks and there's no way around it. So if I got a bad layout, unless it's like an entry-level home or there's some unique reason why it's okay, which is almost never, I avoid bad layouts. Another thing I don't like is shared driveways. People just don't like shared driveways. And then the number one thing you need to avoid is unethical people. Unethical people, whether you're on your team, you're doing business with them, they're an investor, whatever it is, like unethical people, you need to avoid that above anything else. And the last thing I'm going to touch on, then we'll wrap this episode up, is the team that you need to build. You know, there's several key important roles that you need when you're a real estate investor, flipping houses, you have rentals, whatever it is. Number one is a good title agent, good title company, escrow officer. Christina, I've used her for 11 years. She's closed all of my transactions and she's just awesome. But when you're doing investment deals, it's not black and white. You're buying and selling. Like, you need a title company and an escrow officer that really understands what they're doing. And the second role you need on your team is a good real estate attorney. Again, all attorneys are not the same. You need a specific real estate attorney. Lenders, whether it's your private money lenders, mortgage lenders, like what we do with lifestyle lending, you need lenders, you need your contractors, a good insurance agent. So the first 7 years of my business, I was putting an insurance policy on all my deals that would have never paid out a claim on a vacant house flip. And I just trusted that the lady in the office knew what she was talking about. And one time I had an insurance guy review my policy and he's like, dude, if you ever had a claim, you'd be fucked because it wouldn't pay out, or it's likely it wouldn't pay out because of the way you have it written. So a good insurance agent, and then realtors. You know, you need real estate agents, whether it's people bringing you deals or an agent that's going to help you list your properties, but a good agent. So title, attorney, lenders, contractors, insurance, agents. And then I would throw in there, you need to find yourself a mentor or a coach, because the information that you're getting and the people that you're learning from, that's going to make or break your success as well. Well, guys, that's what I got for you today. Hopefully that was valuable and tactical and you took some notes on getting into the flipping business, or if you're flipping homes now and you're just looking to scale to do more numbers. So anyways, I appreciate you guys following me and listening. If you like the show, if you're getting any value out of it, please share it, tell a friend, leave me a review. I want to connect with you as well. Instagram at michael.burns. So I've had my original account back for a few weeks now, which has been good. So Instagram at michael.burns, Facebook, Mr. Michael Burns. And until then, go build that lifestyle, and we'll see you guys next week.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.